Hey, it's all about automation. This is Gary Mintchell on the road again. This is a Detroit, actually Dearborn stop for the MESA International Conference, and it was hosted by Ford. Ford allowed the use of its training center, which was fantastic, a really nice facility, and we stayed at the Dearborn Inn, which is it's a nice hotel. Well, there's no ums about it. It's a nice hotel across the street from Henry Ford Museum in Greenfield Village. And if you have never gone to Dearborn and visited the Henry Ford Museum in Henry Ford Museum in Greenfield Village, you need to do that. It's a great place to go, especially take the kids. When I was very small, I went there and saw the huge locomotive that they have. I still remember that, and it was great to go back in and see that again, and the history of cars, and you can understand the elegance of some of the old cars and so on. Great place. It was a great conference. Attendance was good. I think there was a couple of hundred people registered, and the sessions were all well attended. They sprung for some money and brought in Lou Holtz to kick off the Monday evening festivities, and this is like June 21 through 23, and to put you in a context. And so, and Lou Holtz talked about leadership, and at 74 years old, he's up there and he's very enthusiastic and has a great story. And you can read some of the points in my blog at GaryMinchellsFeedForward.com. And also read my reports on the MESA conference and a lot of pictures that I took while I was there. Some of the things about MESA that are kind of interesting. It's MES software. MES is now called, it used to be called Manufacturing Execution Systems, which kind of grew a long time ago from MRP, Manufacturing Resource Planning, and then as technology goes and uses keeps morphing, and then it's really the Manufacturing Operations Management part of ISA 95. So it's a good thing to get ISA 95 look and the model and so on. Now that brings up some of the difficulties of explaining what MES is, because it grew up with different modules. So there's like a track and trace and production scheduling and labor resource planning and material resource planning and quality and laboratory and all kinds of things like that. And the old MESA model showed like a circle with a bunch of little hexagons. I believe they're hexagons. And it basically, what it revealed was there wasn't anything really that's MES. It's really just a name that encloses a whole bunch of different usually vertically integrated applications. So usually one company would focus on a certain vertical industry. So I have a podcast interview that's on my Automation Minutes website and referred to in my blog at GaryMinchellsFeedForward.com. And with Doug Weaver. Doug Weaver is a MESA officer, and he's on several different committees. And he also is an end user, and he said, I used to have to go to management because he's an MES administrator or some such title. And he said, I go to management, and the management person said, well, actually, I only care about lean. I'm in charge of getting a lean initiative going. And somebody else says, I'm in charge of the real-time enterprise. I need real-time information and data collection and move it up into the format I can use and so on. So he went to work and developed a model. So there's a new MESA model. It's called the Strategic Initiative Model, where they identified 5 strategic initiatives and then linked those down to the different modules that different ways of data collection and analysis that's in an MES or an MOM session, which links down to the factory floor eventually. So information rises from the factory floor and comes up and it gets analyzed, and then it focuses on support of a strategic initiative. You can see the model at my website or at mesa.org, and you can listen to the podcast I did with Doug that's very articulate and explains all that. So there were a lot of sessions. The sessions are getting good. This year, I'll tell you, I've been at a lot of conferences, as you know, and the sessions are actually very good. I'm hearing very little marketing pitches where somebody gets up and says, well, we do this, we do that, we do this, everything's great, and a little bit more practical advice and a lot of questions. Speaking of questions, we had a brainstorming idea. So since I read and do a lot of stuff in the high-tech industry, I picked up this idea of the unconference. So unconference is a weird concept, and if everybody you're trying to reach is in a locality where you can drive to a place, you would put on the web a topic. Let's talk about MOM. And then everybody drives there. Then we'll do it on June 21st, and it'll be here, and everybody drives over. And then you meet in the lobby, and you put your ideas of what you want to talk about on a sticky note. And then the organizers kind of organize it into rooms, and then everybody can gather together that wants to talk about the same topic. Well, in our industry, we're not all in one city. We come from all over the, well, heck, sometimes all over the world. So what we did was we organized some topics where we had an expert available, and went into a room, and people were to bring in their ideas that they wanted to talk about, and then talk amongst themselves and have an expert to facilitate things, make sure everybody talks, and answer any questions. Well, you never know how these things will work out and how they'll morph, and we really weren't sure exactly how to organize it, quite frankly, but it really worked well. It's kind of a round table in a sense, but kind of a little bit more than a round table. And I think if we do it in the future, which we should, because people really loved it. We had 4 sessions, so we had 4 different things going on, and people were able to ask questions, but a lot of people weren't exactly sure what the model was and what the MOM model is in ISA 95, and so they were able to bring questions in, get their questions answered, and they said, gosh, we should have done this first, then we'd have known what sessions were most applicable to us. One company came in, Energizer, and they said, I'd like to gather all of the people that have the same problems we have in a room and then just discuss. One of the committees within MESA is metrics. They're trying to figure out what metrics do people need to measure, how do they measure it, how could MES help, and all that sort of thing. So they had a session and discussed that and got ideas about metrics. And then one last session, there's a working group, which I just found out about because I was kind of that conference organizer, which is maybe not so well organized, I suppose. But anyway, a last one, there's a working group called CPI, and it has kind of 2 names. It's either Chemical and Process Industries or Continuous Process Industries. And they said, well, why don't we let Gary determine? And I said, I'm on a committee at MESA, but I don't determine anything. I said, why don't we just open it up and let people come in, and then if you get a bunch of people in each, then split off. Or if you've got common problems, why don't you just talk about common problems? There's a big difference between a lot of chemical control and MES and continuous process. On the other hand, there are a lot of things that are similar and go together. So I never got a report back from that one. It was probably the smallest of the 4 that we did. But even on the last day, I went to a session where somebody talked about taking PLM into MES. PLM is Product Lifecycle Management. And it was very interesting because the next conference I'm going to, after this MESA one, the very next week, is the Siemens PLM conference. And so I'll be talking about product lifecycle management, digital manufacturing, and that sort of stuff, which all ties together because we could tie some of this information into the MES, which supplies information for actually making things, but we prove it out in the virtual world. So it all fits, trust me. So anyway, so this is Gary Mintchell reporting about the MESA conference held in Dearborn, Michigan, June 21 through 23. And like I said, it's all about automation, and thanks for listening. See you later.